We have an important update regarding the safety of cannabis products in California. The California Department of Cannabis Control has issued a significant embargo on all products manufactured by K.U.S.H Collective, also known as Kinder Understanding Sensitive Healing. This action followed by the revocation of the company's licenses due to serious compliance issues with the Medical and Adult Use Cannabis Regulation and Safety Act. The DCC has raised alarming public health concerns, indicating that there is a probable cause to believe that the K.U.S.H products may be adulterated or misbranded. This poses a potential risk to consumers as the integrity of the products cannot be assured. The embargo specifically impacts a wide range of vape cartridges and integrated vaporizers sold under several brand names, including Backpack Boys, Circles, Clouds, and the Marathon Cultivation. If you've purchased K.U.S.H products, it's essential to stay vigilant. The DCC advises consumers to monitor for any adverse health effects and to consult a physician if any symptoms arise. When checking your product packaging, look for the unique identification numbers and batch codes. If you find any products that match the recalled items, please dispose of them properly as hazardous waste to ensure safety. The situation sheds light on the ongoing challenges faced by regulatory bodies in the cannabis industry. Critics have long pointed out that the slow response times can leave consumers vulnerable to unsafe products. The DCC's recent actions underscore the need for timely enforcement and effective regulatory framework that protect public health. While California's track and trace system is designed to maintain accountability across the cannabis supply chain, the DCC has struggled with timely responses to compliance failures. This not only jeopardizes consumer safety, but also undermines the credibility of California's burgeoning cannabis industry. The K.U.S.H embargo serves as a crucial reminder of the importance of vigilant oversight in the rapidly expanding market. As the DCC reaches out to other licensees with K.U.S.H products in their inventory, it highlights the necessity of strict compliance and proactive measures to safeguard public health. As the cannabis market in California continues to grow, it's becoming increasingly clear that effective regulatory framework and prompt actions are essential. The handling of the K.U.S.H situation emphasizes the urgent need for timely interventions that protect consumer health and maintain trust in the cannabis supply chain. If you are affected or have questions about the situation, you can contact the California Department of Cannabis Control or visit their official website for further guidance. So it's really important to highlight here that we've seen a lot of pesticide recalls. Those were not done timely either in California. This is not one of them. So just for you guys at home, what an embargo means is that all that product is frozen. You can't move it, you can't touch it, you can't look at it too long, and you sure as shit can't sell it. That happens when there's a breakdown in the track and trace system. When they're saying that there's probable cause to believe that this is adulterated product, the burden of proof in California is that they have to have significant evidence saying that the product is adulterated, aka they can't track the origin of the product within the licensed system. So what that means is either they're believing that these products came from the illicit market and were brought in and sold as a regulated product, or, some of the inputs were done the same way. So I think it's really important that we address these things. Obviously the company will have the ability to appeal this, but they have now had both of their licenses revoked, which is, a pretty stern smack on the ass, as Dale I'm sure appreciates. But I'd love to throw it back and see what you guys think. I'll probably have some more comment, but I'll reserve that and let you guys jump in there.
Have they actually been revoked, Jenny Beth?
They're revoked. They have been revoked officially.
Interesting. Because I thought at first they were just like, your license is on hold until we get all the information back or something.
No, they've received, and I actually added that. So when you go to the story, you can click that if you want to read about the revocation and read the revocation notices that were actually sent out to the license holders.
Interesting. Man,
well, the state has just been too slow to jump on this stuff. I mean, I suppose it's a good thing that this operator got spanked like they did, because it looks like they've been, skirting the rules for a while here. And the heart of this is still the pesticide problem. I think Elliott's onto something here, the Cat 4, that, we need to go beyond these COAs that we've got right now, because people have found a way to get around them either by, hiring a bad testing lab or just by manipulating how this is done or sneaking product in after they get their COA. None of this stuff should be going on, but it is. And the state has just been slower than molasses in January to take action. If you've got a product that's contaminated with pesticides that shouldn't be there, it should not take months and months for them to do something about this. It's just outrageous.
Oh, man. Oh, go ahead, Jenny.
I mean, operators have gotten very lax because the DCC has moved so slowly and hasn't done their job. They're tasked with overseeing the industry, and there's been no oversight. So people are like, well, wait, why am I doing all this shit? They're never coming. We're not getting inspected. This isn't going to happen. They're not going to do anything about it. And I think that, we got comfortable, especially during COVID, when we had the stay-at-home orders. We became essential very quickly. So we're essentially operating with the only inspection we're getting is a virtual one, right? So that means I'm going to call ding, 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 DCC, put them on FaceTime. Here's my sign. Here's my secured access. Here's my camera, blah, 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 blah. Okay, what I didn't show you was the 700 pounds I got back there that I pulled off my backyard last night and threw on a U-Haul because we've been pulling them out of God knows wherever. So I think that operators got very lax, and I think that this revocation was a very strong move by the DCC, and I think that that is going to hopefully show some other operators that this is not how we do it. And obviously, I don't know. I'm not in your facility, so I don't know what happened personally. I do know some of those operators, and I obviously feel for people when they have a shitty day and lose money and lose whatever, but I also am very big on the fact that this could be a public safety risk, because if you don't know where the product came from, then that COA you're selling off of doesn't match what's actually in that cart. And that's a scary situation because you don't know what's in there. When we concentrate things, whatever is a portion of that flower, if you're blasting trim that's been treated for fucking termites, guess what else we're doing? We're concentrating the levels of those pesticides within the flower, making it where it might not have been detectable before, but now it could be at a critical level for especially an unhealthy patient. So we have to just be more aware.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is true or not, and I don't want to be spreading any rumors, but the fact that I heard this from an industry person that was totally non-related, but the fact that people are saying this, and I'm saying straight up, I don't know if this is true, and this conversation was not with someone that was affiliated with this license, but apparently they were saying that when the DCC got there, that they had absolutely no COAs for any of the products that they had in their inventory.
That's not accurate, and I'm not in the facility. I'm not gonna pull anybody's pants down and show their wiener for them. But that's not possible because we know as retail operators, Jason, that there's no way to sell into a retail store without a COA attached to a product.
I agree with that. I'm just saying how they said it is that there was
now,
none
was it
there.
the right COA? I don't know, but this is the whole thing, and this is what's wrong with us as an industry. When you see somebody get cracked this hard, you need to go to your facility, run, don't fucking walk. Check your inventory, make sure that your systems are balancing, make sure that your house is in order, and don't worry about what the fuck happened to somebody else. We are such gossiping girls in this industry. It's so sad, and I hate to see people enjoying bad things happening to others. That you should probably go pray or take a nap and have a little snacky because you are off kilter somewhere.
How many cannabis businesses do you think are going to take this seriously and are really going to go and try to do a full inventory compliance audit on themselves to make sure that they got everything that they need in the event of these inspections?
I hope my business picks up, dog, because when I speak to people about the compliance and I'm like, do you need help with your compliance? Do you want me to come in? I do audits. Just if you want to have your facility audited, I'll come in and do that. If you know you have an inspection coming up, I'll do a pre-inspection audit for you in the same way that they'll do it, because my job is not to police you. It's to keep the police from cracking down on your ass. Mm-hmm. But people say repeatedly, nobody's losing their license. Nobody's getting fined. Nobody's this, nobody's that. So maybe now that they're seeing that it's starting to happen, they'll take a little bit more serious approach to their business, because compliance is key in your regulated cannabis business. If you can't be compliant, they can take everything from you and they do not have to give it back.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
Well, at some point, you might want to put into your standard operating procedures that you periodically pull items off your shelves and have them tested at a fairly high level. I mean, it's an extra layer of pants and suspenders, but at this point, trusting COAs has turned out to be a fool's errand. Mm-hmm. I mean, I hate to keep blowing Elliot's horn here, but I think he's onto something. The state has failed when it comes to COAs. And if you're taking the time to do a higher level of COA so that if somebody says, hey, you're selling a bad product, no, we had it tested, here's what's in it, we're assured, then from a standpoint of the attorneys and the insurance industries, you're probably in better standing. They haven't been required yet, but at some point, businesses that sell products that can harm people have testing in-house, where you don't trust anybody else telling you. When you bring something in, like in the dairy industry, they test it coming in, they test it along the way, they test it before it goes out just to make sure you're not selling some, can hurt somebody. This industry may have to do some more of that to police itself to stay out of trouble. The recall and an embargo like this, you can't go to bankruptcy. You're just dead in the water. If you owe people money, not everybody's got a sense of humor when you screw up and cost them a lot of money. The courts work, but so does kicking your ass work. So, there's a lot of problems we could avoid out there if people be a little more cautious with their products and not trust people so much because they're not trustworthy.
No, 100%. And like the last facility that I built out, that was a manufacturing facility. It was ungodly expensive, but we had our own internal testing. It's ungodly expensive for the equipment. It's very sensitive equipment. So that requires a very skilled operator, which means you can't pull $17 an hour ding dong off the street to do it. You need an actual scientist. Also freaking expensive. Was it worth it? It was, because we were doing the right thing, right? I'm doing a micro extraction of every biomass purchase that I made. I'm not letting any other staff member make those purchases. I'm making sure that if anybody comes down on it, it's me, right? So I think there's accountability here. I think we need to be a little more aware of what we're doing, and we're selling something that people are putting in their bodies. We're not selling a fucking shirt that might be off brand.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on this, Rachelle or Stone?
I mean, it seems like this company knew exactly what they were doing. Weren't they renting space to a trap company too? Like, I don't know. I feel like this thing was egregious, and people definitely need to call you, Jenny Beth, to figure out, for the people who want to do it right, that is. I don't know that these people were one of them.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be me, but freaking call somebody. Like, guys, don't trust. This is like a really important position in your company, and there's ways to do it outsourced, but you got to kind of have this right. And if the origin tags aren't right, if you can't show, so it's a parent and child tag. If your child tag doesn't match your parent tag, then your product is no longer tracked on the track and trace system. It is not compliant, period, point blank, end of story, until you prove it is. For them to actually release this embargo and go so far as to do a revocation means that they have really, really, really substantial evidence, because they don't do that easily. I've had clients with embargoes that we've had to get them out of, and we've had the embargo lifted. Why? Because my client was just a dickhead and didn't listen and didn't use these forms that I created that show me all the information I need to keep his metrics straight. So that was his big old bad. But we were able to prove that at least, the product came from a real origin. I'm like, listen, look at the number of plants, look at what I put into flour, look at the transfers that came in, clone purchases. We could track this back, and we did so. But to not be able to do that and see a revocation, that's a pretty substantial situation.
Lawyers Full Employment Act's what it is.
Jenny Beth,
you save money on lawyers and insurance and things like that if you take the extra steps that Jenny Beth is talking about. We do the same thing. We do compliance checks. We help do SOP amendments to make sure that you're not just out there in thin air, that you're anticipating what's coming. And it's better to find it through me or the people I work with than it is to have the DCC find it and come in and shut you down. And then you got to go hire lawyers, which just, it's a dead drain. You don't make anything off lawyers. Lawyers make things off of you.
Fair enough. You guys, what is the appeals process, or is there even an appeals process after a revocation like this?
I mean, there is an appeals process, but it doesn't go well.
It doesn't go well.
At the point of a full revocation, they got you.
You're fighting to get it back. I mean, the administrative law procedures are out there and available, and this is what litigators do in this space, is they go in and litigate this to try and, get your license back. But typically when it's revoked and there's good cause for it, you're out for like 5 years at a minimum. You're just not coming back. And if it's not been revoked or you're suspended, then you have at least a snowball's chance in hell of getting this thing back. These guys are done.
Yeah.
And with an embargo, you do have the opportunity that the state can decide whether they want to suspend or revoke your license, right? And they went straight for revocation here, which is pretty heavy. And it's a tough fight. Once you're in that position, the best way is to not get into that position in the first place.
I just wonder, if this is actually going to create an even bigger problem because the DCC only has jurisdiction on places that are licensed. Correct?
Yeah.
So now that they have removed this license, they have in essence just created a trap every type of component that it is, and they don't have any jurisdiction over it.
You would have to have balls the size of the biggest bull in Texas to keep operating in a facility that this just happened in.
Because the DOJ's coming after you next.
If not already, because we also changed regulations last year, remember, that made it illegal for a licensed entity to knowingly do business with an unlicensed entity, even by diversion. Diversion works both ways. If we're diverting something from the illicit market into the regulated market, that's a two-way street.
Well, and something we haven't seen yet since the Cole memo is that the feds step in. I mean, the spending preclusion from the latest iteration of Rohrabacher-Farr is only if you're staying within these state rules. If you're outside the state rules, your ass is hanging out. And I guarantee you, everybody involved in this is looking at a 10-piece easily if the feds come in and go after them, unless they're going to start ratting each other out. But this is the kind of situation where the feds might step in, because these people are off the chain. They're not following the rules, so they can't argue that, oh, you can't prosecute me. Yes, they can. And at some point, they're going to, because the state's been ineffective. This whole thing has been very ineffective, from the DCC to the DOJ. They just have not been able to wrap their hands around this and figure out a way to solve this adulterated product problem at a minimum, and people getting around track and trace. Boxes of shit fall off trucks all the time, and no one reports it. Ends up in a trap shop. It's like, oh, I don't know what happened to it. The hell you don't. And people know what they're doing here. These are intentional acts. And I'm telling you, the feds don't play. If they decide to step in, every one of these people is looking at a minimum of a 10-piece in federal prison, if not more. And they should stop fucking around with this, because the feds don't play. Rob Bonta has not been real effective at doing anything at the DOJ, but he can. At some point,
this is a long list of brands, you guys, that are produced by these guys. And I wasn't going to give the whole list, but I will, just because some of these names are you're going to be like, what the fuck? Backpack Boys, Circles, Cloud, Cure and Joy, Dabgo, Everyday, High 90s, Hollow Tips, Mr. Nice Guy, Powwow, Superb, The Marathon Cultivation. That's a lot of brands. That's a lot of brands produced by these guys. And they did, in fact, lose both licenses, both their distribution and their manufacturing license. They were revoked as of October. Let me actually pull the letter up here, because I don't want to misquote. Guess who won't be hiring me? Probably any of these guys. As of October 15th, there was a full revocation. Wow. Then if they revoked their licenses on the 15th, Jenny, then why did the retailers of the carrying some of these products that are part of the embargo only get notice just yesterday? On the 16th? Well, you have to notice here's an issue. This is all resulting from an August 30th on-site inspection. So August 30th to now is telling me that they probably have tried to fight this, go back and forth a little bit. But from an on-site inspection on August 30th to a full revocation 2 weeks later, that's month and a half later, that's incredibly fast, because it's a 30-day appeal process, right? So that tells me they probably did appeal. And the result of that appeal was a revocation. And yeah, we should have been, because you can't necessarily tell people until you can prove that there's a problem to pull product from shelves. That might be a kink in the system too. There should be a quarantine process just in case. What that's going to do is it's going to piss retailers off, because now they've purchased all this product that they can't sell. However, it's better to do that than risk putting something dangerous in the hands of a consumer.
Oh, totally true about that.